at this time. She and her husband and their kids had gone on vacation, and she had the swimsuit on, and she didn't like the way she looked in it. And I don't know if you're familiar with the story,
I think
but
I've heard this. Yeah.
she was trying to have a conversation with him in the water, and he wasn't really responding. And finally, she just had to say, "The story I'm telling myself."
Mm-hmm.
And she went on to tell him, it's like, I gained some weight. And his whole thing was like, because he was a swimmer in school. And he was like, I was struggling to stay afloat out there. Like, it had nothing to do with her. But doesn't that happen with most of us? It's like the story we tell ourselves. We make up a whole story, and it has nothing to do with what the other person's experiencing.
Exactly. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's a great story. And I love that line too, like the story
I'm telling myself. Right.
Such great perspective. Hi, Stacy. Thanks for joining us. We're just slowly kicking things off, waiting for a few more. We had about 20 yeses RSVP, so we'll see who else is joining shortly. Oh, here we have Whitney joining. Does anyone have any fun summer plans so far, or doing any fun trips?
Every time I look at the world map from the CDC, it's all red. It's like, don't go there, don't go there, don't go there.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's unfortunately true. Excuse me 1 second. Sorry, we had a dog barking in our neighborhood, and of course my dog needs to respond as it goes. I know. Well, I think we should just go ahead and get started, and as people join us, we'll just loop them in from there. Sound good for everyone?
Yes.
Hey, ladies, sorry I'm a little bit late.
No worries. Hi, Whitney. Thanks for joining us. So just to kick it off, I am Kelsey Mendenhall, and I'm an executive assistant with Hims and Hers. And I'm super excited to co-host this book club with Base. And we have Brené on the line who's helping lead our Zoom tonight. We are recording, and we'll be posting the playback in the Facebook group in case anyone wants to reference it or share it. And I think that's my welcome greeting and my spiel for everyone. So our book for this evening, for this month, Dare to Leave by Brené Brown. I hadn't read this book until now, and I can't stop recommending it to people. I'm harassing my HR team, what can we do from this book from our team? Because I think our team would be incredibly receptive to this. So I'm super excited to talk with you all tonight about your thoughts on it. Typically our format is I think you both have been here before. We just kind of start in the beginning and share our favorite thoughts, quotes, references in the book, and what we want to take into our life, what we're already using in our work or personal life, and kind of go from there. How's that sound?
Great.
Good. Awesome.
Sounds good.
Oh, please go ahead. Carrie,
Sorry, my internet is really unstable, so I'm having a hard time. You keep freezing.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
So if I come in and out, I apologize.
No worries. I totally understand that. That was me for about 2 months last year. I was in the mountains, and about every 3 hours I had to reboot the internet, and it was the longest 2 months of my life. So I understand completely. So let's go ahead and just dive in, guys. Does anyone do any of you want to kick it off and share any of your favorite quotes in the first kind of section in the book, or we can start from there? Oh, I think you're on mute, Whitney. Oh, we still can't hear you.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I got you.
But I have
no worries.
And the whole thing is pink because I highlighted the whole book. So yeah, it's all relevant.
I know. I literally went back and flagged a bunch of stuff. So I have Post-its everywhere. I totally understand. My first quote starting off was actually, she was quoting someone else, Marcus Aurelius, which is, what stands in the way becomes the way. And I was like, oh, that is so much of the EA life. You're dealing with something and it pops up. It's okay, this is the new route we're taking. It's dealing with what this is, for sure. The first topic I'd love to kind of dive in with you guys is this idea of the Rumble. I thought that was so interesting, of like having these Rumble meetings with like the team, and then how she kind of does them, like we're either writing on the Post-its or setting their intentions for the meeting, and being able to have those really frank, like vulnerable conversations. I thought that was so great, and to bring that language to what maybe some people are already doing and what maybe some organizations are really lacking. So what did you guys think of the Rumble conversations?
It's interesting because
Well,
I'm
what
in a group and we're reading Fierce Conversations by Susan Scott.
Mhm.
And the two kind of really complement each other. One of the first principles Susan Scott talks about is master the courage to interrogate reality. And that's kind of what she talks about in the Rumble. And another one of her quotes in the first part of the book is clear is kind. And I
Ooh.
think we're so busy trying to be nice, and we never communicate, someone's behavior that needs to change or something that we need. And so they walk away not knowing, then change doesn't happen. Then we become frustrated. And so, like you were saying with the Rumble, just really being clear in those meetings and really getting issues on the table so that you can bring resolution and move forward. I think it's just imperative.
I agree too. Whitney, anything to add to
I
that?
yeah, I think I have I thought it was pretty powerful that when she said you can't get to courage without rumbling with vulnerability, embrace the suck. Encourage fear are not mutually exclusive. And that's a really hard thing to like look at, because we tend to not really want to face our fears because it's scary. But sometimes we need to, and we need to like face that monster and uh, just kind of own up to it and just say, hey, this is going to be a rumble. This is going to be an honest, open, frank discussion. No judgment. Here we go. Let's put it on the table.
Yeah. And I love that it's like a verb, but like people know instantly, if you're both are on the same terms, like this is where the conversation is going. It like sets up. And so people can either like let their boundaries drop, or they're not boundaries, but their defenses kind of drop, and be able to be like, okay, we're going to figure some stuff out right now. So I think it's such a great concept. And I love that she also talks about boundaries within the Rumble, like in case they go sideways, because that is such, I mean, I feel like boundaries is a really hot topic these past couple of years, especially within the workplace, especially with COVID and people working remotely and figuring out that balance. I really love that she included examples for boundaries within Rumbles as well. I thought that was great.
And I always tend to have these like these inner conversations, and I don't know if I'm just because I'm a crazy old lady or what, but it's like I always have like that you're not good enough kind of voice, and then oh yeah you are. So they're always constantly battling upstairs up here. And she said the true underlying obstacle to brave leadership is how we respond to our fear. The real barrier to daring leadership is our armor, the thoughts, emotions, and behaviors that we use to protect ourselves when we aren't willing and aren't able to rumble with vulnerability. Okay, ouch. Talk about being ugly and putting a mirror right in front of your face.
And I feel like so much of the book, it's like, it's great blueprint for the workplace, but it's so much more stuff to work on with yourself to get to the level where you feel comfortable or like growing into being able to do this in a work setting. At least I know for me, that's very true. It's like being better at speaking up. And again, I think I have those voices too. I don't think it's an age thing, Whitney. I think we all might have those.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that inner critic is what I call it. And so not today.
She's horrible. Horrible. She doesn't pay rent upstairs. She shouldn't be up there.
Right.
I agree.
I love the section where she did almost like a comparison, armored leadership versus daring leadership. And so she would say, this is what armored leadership looks like. And then the contrast of daring leadership. And it just seeing one right after the other was just like, that makes so much sense. And you can see just how confining and restraining the armored leadership is, because I loved the quote, I don't want to be right, I want to get it right. Yeah. And that, when you look at the armored leadership, it's I want to be right. So because of how you present things, you're not really opening dialogue for other people. You're just telling them what you want them to hear. And whereas with the daring leadership, it's, I want to get it right. And so let me hear from you, your perspective, versus let me just tell you what it should be.
Oh, I totally agree. I thought that was, I think what I love about her book is she gives you exact details and examples versus like some books I feel like just kind of go into the theory, but aren't giving you like real world examples to understand it or see like I have the page open that you were talking about, the armored leadership versus the daring leadership, just seeing those next to each other, so impactful. And I love the get it right thing. Absolutely. That's so funny. Funny story about that. I have an issue with spiders in my bathroom, and the pest man and I have not figured it out yet. And I think he thought he knew what it was. And I was like, I don't care who's right. We just have to get it right. And I was like, I love that I'm referencing this book with the pest man. It's great. For all areas of life.
You've completely integrated it. Yes.
Oh my gosh, I hope. I would love that. Yeah. So, oh my God, I literally have, like you, Whitney, I have highlights on almost every page and little things.
Yeah. Scrolling through it now, going, the whole thing's pink. Like, did I just kind of like use my finger or my eye? Long ago that I read it, I had to email you guys to say, what book are we reading? I know I've read it, but which one is it?
No worries. I know. I feel like I want to reread some of the sections and go back to it. There's just so much. Yeah, it's very content heavy, but like so much good content. Like you can't just gloss over sections. And I felt like,
I think it's when you read it, you'll get different nourishment from different sections at different times in your life as to like where you are emotionally and spiritually and professionally and whatever. Something that you may not even have seen the first read or grasp or even highlighted. You're like, how did I miss that? You know?
No, I think you're totally right on that. I feel like this could, and I was struggling kind of to figure out like a structure for us, because usually some of the other books we've read, I can kind of like get to like the main like 4 points or whatever, especially like with Jeremy's book. But this one, I was like, there's so many ways we could go with this. This is like a year-long study book, essentially.
Right.
But it's not related. It's relationship based, you know, and unless you're a hermit under a rock, and you know, we're in the field that we're in, so we have to be relationship based, you know. This can be applied every family, friends.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I totally agree. I know I went to her website, and she has like study guides that kind of go along with the book, asking yourself questions. I ended up downloading the one for this book. I'll share it with the group too. It's like 40 pages long. So I think when I reread the book, I'll kind of integrate that too, because there's just so many things to like take with you. One of the things that super stood out to me was this idea of power. I've worked at some organizations where like there's just like, you know, one person that just really has all the power and doesn't want anyone else to have the power. So I kind of really loved her perspective on that. And she quoted Martin Luther King saying, "Defined power as the ability to achieve purpose and affect change." I just love that.
Change. That is the EA.
Oh, that's the money, right?
That's the EA.
That's the quiet power behind the execs. Oh, go ahead, Whitney.
I'm sorry, I just was asking if you could repeat that quote.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's on page 95 towards the bottom, and it says, Martin Luther King Jr. defined power as the ability to achieve purpose and affect change. That's such a great definition on that one. I love it. And then she kind of went into the different types, like power within, power to, and power with. Yeah, on the next, following page.
Yep.
And I thought that was so great, because it's kind of like, yes, if you have power, how can you use it exactly to affect change? Like, how can you meet someone at that level, bring what they're coming to you with or what you're learning with them, and exactly take and run with it?
Versus wielding it as a sword to control people. You know, it's interesting, where I work, we do regular feedback sessions with people. And the way we start them off is in thinking well with and about your leadership. Something I've noticed. And that's a completely different framework than, because it was really hard when I first started working here with this whole feedback thing, because I was perceiving it as a performance discussion, and that's not what feedback is. And so just having to shift the mind. And so when I read that about the power, I was like, it's the same thing. It's thinking well with and about someone else versus, I don't like the way you do this. I want you to do it my way.
Yeah, absolutely. There's literally a section right after what we're talking about that kind of goes over it. Like when you're sitting in that and you're basically telling people to do those tasks, but then you're telling them exactly how you want them done. And then they're getting frustrated. And then it just leaves people, as she says, miserable, questioning their abilities, and even desperate to leave. So essentially micromanaging. Have a friend struggling with this right now. So I literally read that and I screenshotted.
Read this. Right.
He said, go straight to page 99 and maybe discuss this with the manager you are struggling with.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's, again, so much more feedback. What did you so I feel like we kind of covered a lot of like the vulnerability piece a little bit. What did you guys think, kind of digging into like the shame and empathy part, which I believe is section 4? Did you guys have any like big thoughts? I thought the shame pieces were super interesting, and the empathy as a skill examples were really cool for me as well.
I loved how she just really talked about the difference between I did something bad and I am bad.
Yes.
Yeah.
And just like the internalizing of that. And then, with the humiliation, someone did something bad to me. Again, not internalizing it, but learning to separate it and understanding, when people are experiencing shame, how they mask and hide that. And, and it's just, I made a mistake. And depending on how you grew up and how mistakes were responded to, you do the same thing in the workplace. Like you try to stuff the broccoli in the napkin, which your mother always found anyway. And then it's just worse. Like, had you just come clean, do you know what I mean? It's like, if I had gone, okay, Whitney, I dropped the ball. This is what happened. Here are some ideas that, I think we can fix it, versus hiding it. And then the client, you find out from the client, now I'm really experiencing shame because not only did I make the mistake, but now it's like so much more exposed in the wrong way.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of spirals. And so it's just like reading it, I'm just like processing now, how do I communicate things? And how do I react when other people are communicating things so that they don't misinterpret something and it doesn't devolve into shame?
Oh, absolutely. I think what you kind of said brought up 2 quotes in my mind, which both are a little different. One, I heard from a coach of mine, like, people can only meet you as far as they've met themselves. And I feel like that's like great in the perspective, like, of having that empathy and understanding. And the other one, a little more sarcastic, is the cover up is always worse than the crime.
Absolutely.
I think that's like a Watergate quote.
But it is. It's so much worse.
Is. Yes.
Book really left me convicted because there was a lot of things that are like it turned the mirror on you, so you had to look at your pimples and your old lady hairs and all that stuff. And shame can deal such a painful blow to our sense of self-worth that just the fear of it can send us running from the vulnerability rumble.
Yep.
You experience it once, you're like, I'm just shutting down.
Yep.
I'm going to become a turtle. I'm going to go inside my shell. Do y'all mind if I eat dinner? It's like 8:30 here, and I haven't eaten.
Please. You're totally fine. We're very casual. Don't worry. we might go a little shorter this evening since we have such a smaller group than anticipated. So don't worry about it at all.
I don't know. God, I love talking about books. I had another book club this week. So.
Another one other topic I was wanting to bring up with this group was the list of values and living your values. This really hit me, like, not hard, but like, I joined my company that I'm at now because the people I work for in the company has such strong values that align with mine. And so it makes my job so enjoyable being a part of a team that like has similar values, and we're all striving towards the same things in the same way. Because I have worked at some places where our values were very different. Our integrity levels were very different. And that I learned that was very hard for me. I learned I cannot work for someone I don't respect anymore. And so that was an interesting learning. And I think the older I get, at least in my perspective, I just don't want to waste my time being somewhere miserable where I feel like my integrity is being compromised. So I loved how in depth she went on that. And I think that's like such a great, using that, it would be such a great tool for some teams, like really getting on the same page. If like the company overall doesn't have like really strong directive in what the values are, or if the leader doesn't really kind of tell you or show you or dictate what those values are and how to carry yourself, and like what the integrity level that's expected of you on the job, or the values that are expected of you as well. I think you might be on mute, Winnie.
Yeah, we
Sorry.
can't hear you.
You're back.
Moving as to see if your listening abilities tonight. Living our values is like one of the taglines that Anthem had, but it really did mean something, because the values were in line. To me, the values should be what every human should have as a basic baseline, like honesty, integrity, trust. But then it makes you think. Some people out there don't even know what those words mean because they don't live it. They don't know how to be honest. They don't know how to live with integrity. They don't know how to admit to their mistakes and whatever. It was like, I don't know why they need to tout this motto, this slogan, this thought. Shouldn't we all naturally just be doing that? But yeah, people are people, and they're raised differently, and so they're not all good people in the world, unfortunately. But I agree with you, because Anthem does have the values completely and totally aligned with mine. So you can't rub against the grain, and want to be successful, or even want to go into work and want to be with the people that you're with, if you got snarky, backstabbing, clicky, yucky stuff going on.
I think you bring up a really good point, is like, when your company does have strong values, how do you hire for those values? How are you looking and interviewing people to see that they also share those values or want to live up to those values? I think that's a really good point that this would bring up as well.
I'd ask situational questions that might involve hiding the truth or cooking the books or something like that, but not like coming out and saying it. Mm-hmm. I'd have to ask the questions out ahead of time so that I know that it sounds really PC and democratic and diplomatic. So I was like, but I would ask the questions along those lines to see kind of what their answers were and how they kind of hemmed and hawed and fished around, because that says a lot about somebody. Because I mean, if it's something that's going to be going against the value, if it's a dishonest thing, the absolute should be no. And
immediate.
To be, it should be an immediate.
Yeah, it's immediate. Versus, well, it's kind of a gray area. Like people who live in gray.
Did you kill him or did you not kill him? Because one's right and one's wrong. Did you rob the bank or not? I mean, it's
not gray.
It's just black and white with that. Yeah, especially when it's very clearly defined. That gray area is not very available, I would imagine.
Right.
Exactly. I love that. Did you rob the bank or not? That's very black and white. That's a good one.
Well, I went in and I took the money and I did have a gun, but I'm really not sure that is robbery.
But I said thank you to the teller when I left.
No one got hurt. I just...
Nobody died today. I'm like, okay, but...
Semantics here.
Exactly.
But I think, Kelsey, just to your point, it's, for me, the big piece is, how does leadership demonstrate it? Like, I just don't want them to be a plaque on a wall in HR, but what is leadership doing? Because that really sets the tone. If people see that a leader is willing, to go into those gray even create those gray areas, then people feel justified in doing it themselves. And then everything just evolves from there. So I think it needs to be really clear, not only in what's said, but what's done, what's modeled from leadership.
Absolutely. And I think that goes back to the immediacy. If something's not in line with that, that it's
Correct.
taken care of immediately. My grandma used to say this quote, like the fish rots at the head. I have so many family quotes I'm using today. And that I apply so much to leadership, because it does. Like if the head, your leadership is not demonstrating the things that they're portraying, then why would anyone else? Why should anyone else?
Right.
And sometimes that's really hard to find out. And when you're interviewing somewhere, it's like you're usually already on the job very early on, and then you're seeing it demonstrated. And that's when you're like,
not this again.
Yes, exactly. I'm trying to see if I had a few things in the end. I was so focused in like the front of the book, I just really kind of skimmed the end of it. I felt like a lot of towards the end of the book was a lot more self-reflection. That's kind of what I took from it. Mm-hmm. This idea of like, this quote actually was great. I can read this one for you guys. Integrity is choosing courage over comfort. It's choosing what's right, what's over what's fun, fast or easy. And it's practicing your values, not just professing them. I thought that was so good. And like we summed it up. And the idea of an integrity partner, I thought that was really good. I feel like for some people that can be their immediate family or their best friends, but I think translating that to someone at work is so important as well, to have that touchstone.
Yeah, I just, to reiterate, you really could spend like a year just going through this book, because there's just like so much. One of the things that stood out for me too was when she talked about defining what done looked like. And I think especially in our roles, the more important was the next step, when it's let's paint done together. Because then you're asking questions versus the person just saying, this is what I want accomplished. Because you can go, well, if we're now focusing on that, then that means something else loses focus. That means we have to take resources from something else. Because I think, C-level executives, they're visionaries. They have these grand schemes and they forget. Last week you had a grand scheme, and the week before that you had a grand scheme, and we're still working on those. And so where does this fit? Say in this quarter, is this something we need to push off to the next quarter? So that's where the let's paint done together is a huge difference from, okay, tell me what done looks like, so that when I leave here, we're all on the same page. This is what's being accomplished, versus let's talk about what we're actually going to accomplish.
I love that.
That was that phrase after I read the book. I've got two SVPs that I support. One is kind of self-sustaining. I do things for him, but it's not to the extent that I do for the other one. The other one, literally, I'm like texting him like 5 minutes before his next meeting. He's got to wrap up his meeting because he just sees a shiny object and he runs in that direction, right? So he's used to like just throwing up his ideas and like what he wants. And I actually rendered that man speechless, and I don't think that I ever had before, because I'm like, hey, Putty, let's paint done. What does it look like for us? And he was like, and I'm like, hello? He's like, well, I hadn't thought about that. And I'm like, so you're like running through the cat box of all the crap in between here and done, and you don't know what you want done to even want it to be a Mona Lisa painting, or do you want it to be a Picasso painting? I mean, come on, let's at least figure this out together. And then we had a really meaningful conversation.
That's awesome.
And it makes you stop in your tracks and go, I don't really think I even know what I want done to look like yet. And that's an honest answer too.
Yeah. I think that's that's such a great way to push back, and like, not like a mean way, but like, okay, like what is your vision? How do you see it carried through? And especially when your executive has a lot of visions and a lot of great ideas, or if you work for a founder, which is in my world of tech for sure, it's, it's what they have, all these ideas, and there's these other pieces. I think that even Brené talks about on the board, like her book deals or whatever.
Exactly.
And if not everyone who's implementing or, working on the back end of stuff understands what's on the board, that's where you can get all over the place. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So good. I know this book is like a whole study. I really hope my HR team does something with it. I think it'd be really cool. Or I'd love to go to organization again for like a day and see how they are like doing this and like implementing it. I'll have to try to find someone that maybe could come talk to us if you guys are interested. Like, what does your day look like with these in practice? You write that down.
Let's email her. Be like,
Yeah.
we read your book. Would you do a Zoom call with us?
Exactly. I did tag her. I started a little Instagram account for us to kind of like put the books we've read. Yeah, I'll send you guys a link for it. And I did tag her in it, and I was like, maybe she'll see it. You never know. Maybe her team will. But I'm sure she probably gets tagged in a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Whitney. I think you cut out. Oh, so the handle is I'll write in the chat. It's at ea.bookclub. I haven't been posting a ton on there, but I just put a few of the other books. I wanted to be able at the end of the year to go back and like maybe make a graphic of all the books that we've read through the year so far and discussed. Because I think it's also a great thing to add to like your goals for the year, performance evaluations, or anything like that, since it's because it is EA focused. So I thought that'd be really fun to have that all in one spot too, and for more people to maybe join us or find us, even within or outside.
I'm sorry, you said it was at EA Book Club?
Yeah, EA, and it's .book club. Someone else got to the EA Book Club title before me, so I had to add that dot in there.
I've got to jump off from my board call.
Well, thanks so much for joining us, Tracy.
Love this. We'll see you next month. Look forward to it.
Absolutely. We will. See you then.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Yeah.
Were you able to find it, Whitney?
Yes. I'm going to say follow.
Awesome.
There we go.
Oh, perfect. I just saw you. I'll just follow you as well. Perfect.
That's why I'm excited. I have my two cell phones and I've got my monitors and everything like that. But yes, I am now following.
Yay, perfect. I'll try to like post some more stuff on there too and get that a little more built out on there. But yeah.
We should do a deeper dive into this book since it's so full of rich content that we should look at another book to read for next time.
Yeah, so I had already figured out the rest of the books for this year, and then I was going to have us all vote for books in 2022. So I believe the next one we have is The Elevated EA by Maggie Jacobs, and I'm hoping to maybe be able to join us for that book club meeting. And then in November, it is, I believe it's Leaders Eat Last by Simon Sinek, and I can resend you the email that's listed if you need that. Pretty sure that's the book.
So we've got Elevated EA for August, right?
Correct. Yeah. Actually, so we're doing every other month. So that would be for September. And then November would be our last one for the year. I kind of did it every other month because I didn't know if every month would be plausible for everyone. But what are your thoughts on that? Would you be more interested in every month or every other?
Club is every month, but then again, we also read stuff that's like trashy romances, and like the last one, it was the highest rated book that we've had like in years, and it was Where the Crawdads Sing.
Oh,
and it was like, so it's a great book, and it was the second time I had read it, and there was stuff just like this book that I was like, I don't remember that. I don't remember that, and it was just her writing is so vivid and beautiful. Yeah, it was the highest rating that the book club has ever given to one of our books that we read. So they really usually don't have much, meat to them. So we do those monthly, but I'm up to doing whatever. I love getting together with everybody. I love seeing you. I love meeting new people. I love reading books, and Leaders Pass is absolutely. That's a good one.
Yeah,
There's another one.
So I'm excited to read that.
There's another book too that we could put on for next year.
Yeah.
If you want your list.
Absolutely, please. What is it?
And it's called Don't Do Stuff You Suck At.
That's a great title. I love
And
that.
the Ethic of Butts, Butts.
That's an awesome
Here it is right here.
list. Oh, it's you're a little blurred out. Okay, I see it. I gotcha.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's a really good book, and it's a girlfriend of mine gave it to me, and it's actually signed by her. See?
Awesome. Oh, that is so cool. That makes it so special. I love books like that.
Well, her mom works at Microsoft, and she's been there for like 25 years or something like that. So they, of course, get all these famous authors that come and talk to them, and so they have access to all this all the time. So she got one for me because I'm
Amazing.
like a tech.
I think what I'll do for at least for Daring to Lead, I'll see if I can find, because she lists a few organizations that have implemented this leadership Daring program template, and see if I can like LinkedIn stock one of their EAs, which, you know, I love LinkedIn. You can find anything or anyone, and see maybe if they'd be willing to like have like a discussion with us and just like, what does their day look like incorporating these? How did they do it? So I'm really interested in that. So I'll try to find that out and like let you all know for sure. I think it'd be a really cool discussion, like follow up to this.
That would be amazing. I would add that on as a weekly discussion if we had to do that, because I think that there's so much meat here. And she does offer some terrific examples, and she cuts right to the chase, and she's like no holds bar. She doesn't fluff anything up. But to see somebody put it in action, because it's one thing to say could be a very personal thing and something that you just do and you start honing in yourself and you start your outward reactions and things of that nature are a little bit different than they normally may be because you're working on the inside because of what you've read here. But if an organization does it together, how does that look?
Yes.
You know,
yeah,
how do you
the buy-in needed to like get it going, really? Obviously it has to be from the whole leadership team, but yeah, like there's so many. And then if you really have the company adopt it, what does onboarding new people look like? Because that's got to be like strange for a lot of people, like going into meetings and writing down your intention for the meeting, you know, showing like what your idea for the thing is in the meeting, things like that, or hearing the term for the first time, what's a rumble? I imagine that would be, you know, a lift to really understand how the dynamic is with this strategy.
And if you haven't read this book, if you didn't know if you were a newbie on board, all right, let's get ready. I would be like fearful, like what are these people doing? Are they going to get up on the table and fist fight or something?
Hopefully they give all the people like the book right before they start. Be like, this is how we run our company. That would probably be the most successful, but now I have to find that out too. That's like, I need to know that. So yeah, it's just fascinating. Again, it could totally be a study. I know she does a training program, Brené Brown's company, where they train people to teach this in companies. So I'll look and see if I can see one of their leaders and maybe if any of them have like EA backgrounds as well, because that would be even more within understand our world too and what we do. And they would have great insight for us. So that might be a level deeper. I'll go and some LinkedIn research on this, but yeah, so cool.
For that, Kelsey. And if there's anything I can do to facilitate and help with that, I mean, because I know that you've got your full-time job, I got my full-time job. I mean, it you know, more hands make the burden less. So if there's anything that I can do, I'd be glad. If you want to make a list of people you want me to call or stalk on LinkedIn, just let me know and we can divide and conquer.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'll keep you posted. I'll like
I'll be glad
next week or later this week. Yeah.
Awesome. Sure. Yeah, I live here. I live here in my office, and you know.
Same.
I don't know if I told you last club or not, but as soon as you came on camera, I loved you because your books are color coded, and I just think that's beautiful. It just makes my spirit so calm looking at your color coded in the background. Love it.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it makes a great Zoom background for sure. And then it's like easier for me to remember where the book is because I remember the book jacket. Totally wasn't my idea. I stole it from do you know the Home Edits? They're an organization company. You should follow them on Instagram. I literally love just scrolling through their feed. So basically they go in and organize celebrities' homes. And like they have their own line with the Container Store too. And so I love the Container Store. So it's like the best mashup of everything. So
yeah, I buy your store. I'm like, I walk in there, I don't know what I need, but I know I need stuff in here.
Like Target, it'll tell you what it means. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining tonight. And I will be in touch with you for sure. And maybe we can make this like a study group or something, or see what, see if we can like interview someone or something like that. I think it'll be exciting to see.
Yeah.
And then, and if we don't set that up before our next book club, I'll see you at that one. Hopefully before we'll have something on the books would be great.
Yeah. I know that you've got your own thing going on as well as I do, but I think that this is really important, because I think that if a lot of times they do stuff like this and they bring in the Brené, okay, let's have Brené Brown come into our office. And then it's just like the C-suite that gets to talk to her, right? Or gets to get the benefit of that training. And then they try to filter down with their big thought minds to everybody else. And there's just like, I don't get it. Can I just read the book and can you fill me in and answer my question? And they can't.
Mm-hmm.
So if we could, have the group of EAs and EAs together at our level, because I think that you and I and EAs as a whole, we affect change, I think, a lot more effectively than even the C-suite people do. I'm just saying, I'm not like tooting our horn, but I just think that we do.
Yeah.
I asked, there's something that my boss has actually been asking for from his people. And then people are afraid of me, but I don't give, I just, because I'm persistent. They're just like, I don't want to hear from her anymore. Like, if she asks, give it to her, because she'll ask you again.
Well, we're just experts at disseminating information or like tracking someone down. No, I totally understand for sure. I know I have one friend, like in my personal life, I was planning a trip for us or something. She's like, you are so persistent. I'm like, this is what I get paid to do. Like, this is a major part of my skill set. Exactly.
God, man, I got to do it. I got to keep my list going, and I got to keep my timeline going, and I want it done by this date. And I've actually gotten to the point where I say, if I want it by this date, I will give them a reminder that morning. And I said, they know that I will pull the document from Teams at like 3:00 and then work with what I've got there. And if they didn't make their OKR updates, so bad.
Oh, I love that. I think that's a great example of boundaries around what you're looking to do. Yeah.
Big bucks, and I'm sitting here doing your work for you. You know what? You're going to have to grow a set, be a big boy or big with those panties on, log into Teams and actually read what I put on there, and then just do it. Be like Nike.
There you go. I know, for sure. Well, thanks again, and thank you so much, Bren, for helping us with the Zoom in the background. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Bren. We really appreciate you doing that and having this open for us.
Yes, thank you so much. Well, I will be in contact with you soon, Whitney, and we'll sync up on this. I think it'll be really cool.
Looking forward to it. Thanks, Kelsey, so much for hosting us.
My pleasure. Have a great night.
You too. Bye-bye.